Hi, you're watching DualShockers TV on DualShockers.com. I'm here with Eric Monacelli, the community strategist on Naughty Dog and The Last of Us. By the way, I just want to note one thing. We actually have Joel from the game. Turn your head, Joel. Turn your head, Joel. We have Joel playing as Joel. Okay, you're not going to get that anywhere else. But he's going to be playing it. So in the meantime, we're going to talk about the game a little bit. So just tell us about, like the atmosphere, the story, the main characters, like what, it's got to be something massive that you guys are working on here. Naughty Dog is known for that. And what's like a brief explanation about The Last of Us?
So The Last of Us is actually, it's a new IP for us. It's our first foray into sort of mature territory. We're expecting an M rating for this game. It's a very real, very gritty, realistic game. It's completely grounded in some science, reality, a lot of plausible science behind what went into making this game. Ultimately, at its core, it's the story of Joel and Ellie. Now, Joel and Ellie are two very different survivors. Joel, he's sort of a hardened, he is actually a black market smuggler at the time you're playing the game, and he's been tasked with taking Ellie essentially on a journey from the East Coast to the West Coast to an undisclosed location. She's cargo to him right now. That's all it is, or vice versa. You know what I mean. But so as they move through this game world, you're going to get their different worldviews, because she was born during there's this pandemic that has wiped out civilization as we know it. No more cameras, no more cell phones, no more running water. All that stuff's sort of gone. And so Ellie was born after this pandemic hit, and Joel was born before it hit. So they're two very different people. You're going to learn about them, how their relationship grows and develops over time, and as they go on this journey together. And we're going to, show you a narrative that sort of tackles themes about love, loyalty, redemption.
And this is the only world that she knows. This torn world with nothing but what are the zombies called again?
Actually, they're not zombies. They're humans. They're infected humans. And that pandemic I was talking about earlier was actually caused by a cordyceps fungus. And a cordyceps fungus, we got the inspiration from the BBC documentary Planet Earth. The cordyceps fungus is a very viral fungus that once it infects a species, it starts to sort of take over and change their physiology, and they sort of start to grow mushrooms from their head and like orifices and things like that.
They ain't pretty no more.
Yeah, they're mushrooms. Monsters.
And that's all the plausible science you were talking about before.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a lot of the science. This has happened in the world. There's been cordyceps infections with ants. There's been cordyceps infection with different kinds of insects. It even got into, I think, a cow once. So there's been different things that have, it's a very real thing that could happen. We asked ourselves, like, what if this did jump to humans? What would the world be like if that occurred? How would humanity react?
And the game takes place in is it Philadelphia or?
The game takes place right now. Actually, we're in Boston. We're showing off a level that's in Boston. Okay. So, it just worked out well for PAX East. But it's actually a journey. It's a journey basically from the East Coast to the West Coast across America.
When the game was first announced, there's a lot of talk from Naughty Dog about how it was influenced by films like The Road and like No Country for Old Men. I was more interested in talking about The Road, because The Road has that, the older man who was around before everything went to crap, and then, the kid, and this is all he knows. How is that, how's it instrumental in shaping the relationship between Joel and Ellie?
Well, I mean, that is the core of The Last of Us, that sort of bond between Joel and Ellie. And as you move through the game, that relationship and that bond will grow and evolve. Ellie is basically, she's born and raised in this quarantine zone on the East Coast, and Joel's a smuggler in that quarantine zone. And Joel is smuggling her out of that quarantine zone into this world she's completely unfamiliar with. So, it was one of the inspirations for sure, but it wasn't anything that we're like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. It was more along the lines of we wanted to see how the characters behaved in that environment, and we built our own world, and now Joel and Ellie get to interact in their environment and get to behave in a way that they would in a world of scarcity, in a world of unpredictability, and you get to see that as the game progresses.
So with the game being primarily about those two characters, you're not going to run around finding like files on how this pandemic happened. Is like very realistic tone you guys are going for?
Yeah, I mean there actually will. There's other humans still alive. As I said, the infected are humans themselves, and there's other factions of humans that have survived, and they're all surviving in their own ways. Some of them are peaceful, some of them are more aggressive and may just come at you and try and take you out, steal whatever supplies you have on you. So as you move through the game, you're going to have to figure out who you can trust, who your foe is, who your friend is, and just use your judgment as you play the game, and it'll become obvious. But there's a lot of backstory that will unravel itself as you move on your journey.
So, who are you going to encounter more? Who's the bigger threat? The humans vying for supplies, or the infected? In essence, what we're going for is that humanity at its core and how they behave in this pandemic is the threat. This like imminent threat. There's a sense of tension and sense of danger, pretty much wherever you are. It'll change who you are, but at the same time, if you find certain peaceful fractions, they'll be peaceable. They'll be nice to you. So there's a balance between the gameplay, but humans are always coming, either at you or they're going with you and trying to help you out. Basically, when I'm playing this game, I'm not going to want to complain about anything else because everything here is just it sounds so depressing in a good way, though, in a good way.
Yeah, we tried to make a really atmospheric tone. We tried to make a tone that really brought you into the world. All the sounds are very organic, very grounded and natural, and it sort of just immerses you and commands your attention.
In terms of the gameplay, is there going to be more of kind of like that hand-to-hand brawling? Because I noticed in the E3 demo that was shown a while ago,
yep,
he had one gun that only had about 3 bullets, and it was more about kind of sneaking around, getting on people that way. Will you be using weapons more often, or hand-to-hand more?
I mean, it's your play style. We wanted to give the players choice. We wanted to give them the option to go offensive, to go defensive, to figure out what kind of combat they like to engage in, whatever their playstyle is. One of the biggest things and the keywords for the combat was intimate. We want it to be intimate, we want it to be visceral and in your face, but we want it to be grounded and real. So, when you pick up a 2x4 and you hit somebody or something with it, it's going to break after a little while. So the weapons in this game, they will start to deteriorate and erode over time. Guns, we're leaving them a little bit safe, but there are ways to craft weapons and make them more powerful. So as you move through the game, and especially what we're showing off in this demo here is a lot of our crafting and scavenging. And when you craft and you scavenge weapons, you'll be able to, dispatch enemies with a little bit more ease.
So yeah, so Ellie, your weapons, the enemies. There's a lot of things in The Last of Us you just should not be taking for granted.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is one of those games you're always going to want to keep on your toes. You want to stay alert. Ellie can absolutely take care of herself. Her ability to do that will progress more and more as you move throughout the game, but you're going to want to watch for her. She's going to have to watch for you, and you're going to want to look for as many resources as you can to make the best weapons you can.
Let's list one last question. About how long is a total game, and is there any plans for any type of DLC after release?
Yeah, so the game is one of our longest campaigns ever right now. If you're playing the single player, it all obviously when you play a game it depends on your play style. But to do like the normal campaign, we're estimating between 12 and 16 hours. But if you want to find everything and all the collectibles and sort of items we have in the game, it's going to take you a lot longer than that. So it's a big immersive game. It's one of our most ambitious games to date. As far as DLC goes, we don't have any plans at the moment. But once we do, you guys will be the first to know.
Thank you very much. We've been checking out The Last of Us. Thank you very much, Eric. You've been watching DualShockers TV.